guys, a lot of people seem to believe that speaking is what they need in order to improve. And for most people, speaking is just one part of the puzzle, one piece of the puzzle. Speaking is undeniably extremely important for your ability to become better at English. That's how you actually apply all the other knowledge, speaking and writing. But speaking alone is just not enough. And I'm gonna use a clip from the TV show Friends, I'm sure you've at least heard of it, to illustrate why it's simply not enough. So right now, I'm going to play a clip and I want you to try and write down the words that you hear. I'll play it a couple times, okay? Let's try.
Wow, I don't have the worst costume anymore. Wow, I don't have the worst costume anymore. Wow, I don't have the worst costume anymore.
So, there's a very high chance that you did not really understand some of the words that Chandler said.
Wow, I don't have the worst costume anymore.
And I want to explain to you why and how your knowledge of grammar, some rules, might actually be helpful in a real life situation if somebody said something like this. So one of my students told me that she caught worst costume anymore. I played the clip several times and those are the words that she got. But then she was like, Then she was like, oh, don't. So she caught don't. She heard don't without a T, but she knows that that was actually don't. And then she was like, oh, we have don't, so there should be a verb. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. So then she caught have, even though it's not actually have. I'll explain in a minute. And after that, I was like, okay, so look, we say big, bigger, and she's like, the biggest. I'm like, okay, cheap, cheaper, the cheapest. Good, better. She's like, the best. I'm like, what do they all have in common? She's like, the. So if you know that superlative adjectives in English use the, you can figure out that the is missing. Now, maybe in real life, it's not that important that you catch that the, but the point is that grammar can help you fill in those gaps. Now, why is it so hard to catch what Chandler is saying? Because when we speak English in real life, we don't really say words separately. We put them together. So he doesn't say, I don't have the worst costume anymore. That would be kind of ridiculous. Instead, we kind of put the words together and we sort of prioritize. So the more important words we stress, meaning we say them louder. The less important words we don't stress, we reduce them. So we don't say them as loudly. Now what ends up happening is that when you reduce certain words, they don't sound clear. They don't sound as clear as they would if you were to stress them. And so certain sounds change. In the word don't, we don't really say the T sound. We kind of drop it. Don't. Now in have, we don't say the H. We just sort of remove it. And instead of the A sound, sort of like in the word apple, we just turn it into a schwa. So don't have is now don't have. But you also, in the whole sentence, you're not going to say it even as clearly as I just did. So as a result, you have, I don't have the worst costume anymore, because you stress the words worst, costume, and anymore. And the rest of the words sort of blend together. Now, will simply speaking more, practicing your speaking more, give you this insight, explain to you what I just explained to you? Not really. So in this situation, for example, for my student who was working with this expression, with this clip, everything came together. All her listening practice came together with the grammar. That's how she knew that there was some sort of a verb missing. She also is aware that certain words get stressed and other words get reduced. So she was able at the end to figure out what was being said. So if she had just been, practicing speaking alone without any other stuff like grammar, like pronunciation, probably she wouldn't be able to catch it. So that is just one illustration of how speaking alone is not going to work any magic on your English. It's extremely important to practice your speaking, but it's not enough alone. You need to do other things. But if you're looking for more opportunities to practice your spoken English, I've restarted my speaking club. This is where we discuss all sorts of topics, and not from the most boring angles. Like, we're going to talk about Halloween, and it's not going to be like, what's the history of Halloween? But is this an inappropriate costume and why? So stuff like that. I invite no more than 5 people per session. Each session is 50 minutes long. At the end, I usually give some brief feedback about maybe pronunciation or grammar. And it costs $5 for your first session, and then $15 or $20 per session, depending on the plan you choose. So if you're interested in my speaking club, please feel free to reach out. And I hope to see you soon.